This is the live broadcast for the news.
Yep.
6 o'clock news is in here.
Hey everyone, thanks for tuning into 13 Now. I'm Maybelle Salzano. Today is Monday, July 20th, and today we're talking with Jackson County Sheriff candidate Donnie Edenfield. Thanks for being here.
Thanks, Mia. Thanks for having me.
So for those who may not know you, can you just start by introducing yourself, maybe talking a little bit about your background and your career?
Absolutely. My name is Donnie Edenfield, of course, and I am your Republican candidate for Sheriff of Jackson County. I'm a lifelong native of Jackson County, born and raised in Jackson County. I'm one of 3 sons to my mom and dad. Had wonderful parents, the most hardworking parents that you could imagine. And they raised my 2 brothers and I to work hard and to have faith, believe in God. And I am a God-fearing follower of Jesus Christ, first and foremost. And I graduated Grand Ridge High School in 1989 and went on to graduate from Chipola College eventually, and then Troy University with a bachelor's degree in criminal justice. And a number of years later, returned to school and was able to obtain my master's degree in criminal justice and public administration. But something I have that means more to me than a master's degree is I have a lot of common sense. And I've got a work ethic that was instilled in myself and my brothers at an early age that I'll put up against anybody's. I'm a worker. I have a 16-year-old daughter, and she keeps me on my toes. She is going to be a junior at Mariana High School this year. She actually chauffeured me down today. As far as my career began, I'm on my 27th year in criminal justice field, began as a correctional officer back in 1994. Then a couple years later, I promoted to probation officer within the same agency, and eventually went back to the Law Enforcement Academy and became law enforcement certified. So I currently hold all 3 FDLE standards: corrections, probation, and law enforcement. And as a probation officer working the street for 20 years, I did a lot of work inside the courts as a court officer. So I've got hundreds of hours working with the court systems. So I sort of have a good understanding of all sides of the criminal justice spectrum. Now, my current position, I'm the regional training manager for the North Florida region of probation and parole, which means I supervise the training of some 325 staff that is spread out over 3 judicial circuits, which encompasses 16 counties. And part of that job is also helping to manage a training budget, a rather large one. So, and I'm a public servant. I tell people all the time, you know, I'm not a politician. I have to politic, obviously, if you expect to get elected, but I'm not that person that's going to tell Mia what she wants to hear just because I think that's going to get me somewhere with you. That's not me. But that's sort of my career and a little bit about me and my family. Very close-knit family. My daughter and I live on 40 acres of the original farm that my granddad had years ago. And we raised a little small herd of cattle just to give us something to do when we got nothing else to do, which isn't very often. But anyway, that's it.
Okay, so why did you decide to run for sheriff this year?
I am running for sheriff for the citizens of Jackson County. The citizens of our county deserve a sheriff that's going to put the needs of the citizens first and foremost. It has to be about the people. During the course of my campaign, when you hear me reference what we're doing, it's usually our campaign, because I have a wonderful team that's on board with us of supporters. I mean, wonderful people, and it's our campaign. And you'll hear me say us and not me. But as your sheriff, I can assure the citizens of Jackson County that the needs and the security and the well-being of the Jackson County citizens will be, and service to them will be, top priority.
Okay. And is there anything that you would like to see change about the structure of the sheriff's office? I guess with everything going on in the country right now with police reform, is there anything that do you want to address there?
As far as the sheriff's office, you know, the structure goes, as the sheriff, I would obviously, early on, take a close, hard look at every position within the agency and every person that is in those positions. And I would do this to ensure that we have the right people in the right places. And in order to hold these people accountable, they have to know what's expected. If Donnie Edenfield is your sheriff, each employee of the sheriff's department will sign an agreement, or per se, like annually, letting them know what's expected in that particular position, sort of like job expectations, if you will. And it'll be spelled out, you know, as your job as a dispatcher, or your job as a sergeant is this, 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 and this is your goals. And at the end of the year, we're going to sit down and have a yearly evaluation and look at those expectations and those goals and see if you've met those. And when we do that, I want the citizens of Jackson County to have ownership of the sheriff's office. So my goal is to have a citizen panel that is involved in the interview process and as well as in the promotional process and the evaluation process from year to year. So when we sit down with this employee, number one, they know what's expected of them. They know that we're going to hold them accountable. And at the end of the year, we look at it, and and this is not just a I got you thing. This is in place to show if Mia is working for Donnie and you've met your goals and you've went above and beyond and you've done your job, this yearly evaluation is going to show that as well. And then when it comes time for a promotional opportunity and we have a pool of applicants, instead of just promoting this one or that one for whatever reason, let's look at your performance and let's see what kind of asset you are. So we have to hold ourselves accountable because we work for the citizens of Jackson County. And going back to the hiring process, we have to hire people that of high moral character and value. And you have to work hard to do that. Everybody's not busting down the doors to come in and work as a law enforcement officer in today's time, especially for the amount of money that all law enforcement officers make in rural counties. No one goes to the police academy with the mindset, I'm going to be a cop because I want to make a lot of money. They do it for the love of people. And I think sometimes we forget that it's about the people of the county and we forget who we work for.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I wanted to talk a little bit about accountability, actually. Jackson County currently has a deputy awaiting trial for fabricating evidence in dozens of cases. How will you ensure that that doesn't happen in the future?
You have to put checks and balances in place. As your sheriff, there will be more oversight, more administrators looking at what's going on a day-to-day basis. Number one, let's talk about accountability and what is expected of you. Now, if you don't know what's expected of you, or you don't know what your job is, you're going to have an out. Well, I didn't know that was my job. I didn't know I couldn't do that. That's where the job expectation comes in. And also hiring the right people. That's where it starts in the beginning. You got to hire the right people. And we don't want to hire someone just because of who they are, who they're related to, or whatever. Let's hire them based on their core values, their beliefs, their morals, and their character. And that's why I'm a strong advocate that we have somebody from the community in our interview process. So number one, we're picking the right people. But once we pick the right people and put them in place, then those people have to be accountable. And that goes back to let's set some standards here. And this is what's expected of you. Now, I can't just put that out there and then expect you to do your job between now and next year's evaluation without checking up on you. I had a fellow tell me one time years ago, he said, do not expect what you don't inspect. So that means if you're not watching and checking behind, don't expect it to be up to par. So we have to put checks and balances in place so you're checking to make sure. And that's not just with patrol, that's with investigations, that's with the narcotics task force, that's with communications. But we have to have people in those roles as supervisors and leaders. Number one, they have to be accountable. It starts with me. If I'm your sheriff, I have to be accountable for my actions, and then those who work under me would have to be accountable for theirs. So you have to follow up and check. And if you suspect something, you can't sit on it. The situation is unfortunate. I can assure you there's some good staff in law enforcement and at the Jackson County Sheriff's Department. No doubt in my mind. I'm friends with several of them. But usually all it takes is one incident to sort of make it tough for all of us. And we have to, as a sheriff's office, we have to gain back the trust of the citizens and the confidence. And the way we do that, Mia, is we do that by getting involved in the community. Meaning we have to, by serving them, talk's cheap, okay? I have to show you that I'm going to be involved in your communities. And I mean, not just one community, but I mean, we have a large county, almost 1,000 square miles, and there's several little communities within the county. You got to be involved with every one of those. You can't expect a community to trust law enforcement if the only time law enforcement shows up is when blue lights are on and someone's going to jail. Doesn't work that way. To gain their trust, you got to be out there with them, and I don't mean just answering calls and serving warrants and serving papers. I mean, be involved in your community. Serve them. That is how you gain the trust of the people.
Okay. And so I guess my next question is, what are your thoughts on the new ordinance by the Jackson County Sheriff's Office to display information on sex offenders?
I am 100% in agreement with that. I think we should have already been doing it. And the job of the sheriff is to protect and serve. We have to protect our citizens. And there are, in Jackson County, we have 178 registered sex offenders. And out of those 178, 17 are considered the more violent, the predators, because of the nature of their offense. And it's the job of the sheriff by statute. He is required to, number one, register these people and follow up and verify residences of these people. And not just once, but continually. We have to know where they are. And the purpose of it is to protect the public. And the ordinance is going to provide the Sheriff's Department the ability. They already had it by statute. They were able to put this out there. And I say, I mean, you know the world we live in. It's social media. We need to put it out on social media. And this is not punitive in nature to punish someone who's committed a crime. This is simply to protect the citizens. And that brings about transparency. In order for an agency to gain the trust of people, you must be transparent. The community has to know what's going on. Now, can they know everything? Absolutely not. If it's sensitive to a case or an investigation, you can't tell everything. But on the flip side of that, everything doesn't have to be a secret about what's going on at the Jackson County Sheriff's Department. We work for you, the people, so it's okay if you know what we're out doing on any particular day. But absolutely in favor of the ordinance. And as your sheriff, I can assure you that our agency will do everything within our power to protect those citizens from offenders such as these.
So if presumably they've already served their sentence for the crime that they've committed, you don't think it's punishing them further to kind of display their face and name and address?
Not at all.
I think it's all right.
I think it's for the protection of the citizens. Again, it's not punitive in nature. If I don't want to ask you a question because we're on TV, you're asking the questions, but you go and ask your citizens a question that has a 3-year-old daughter, and you've got a sex offender that's went to prison and completed the terms of their supervision and incarceration and get out. And if this person had a 3-year-old daughter and this inmate was released from prison and moved next door, would you think that that person would want to know in order to be able to protect their child? Absolutely.
So are sex offenders and past inmates no longer residents and citizens?
Of course they are. They're citizens and residents. But that still gives the citizens the right to know who's living next to them.
Okay. I took a look at your political ads and your Facebook page and things just to kind of see what you stand for, what's most important to you. And
what's most important to me is God and country and family and the citizens of Jackson County. I'm a family person. Family is important. I'm a huge supporter of our Second Amendment. I support the Constitution as a whole, but I'm a huge supporter of our Second Amendment rights. The fact of the matter is Jackson County is large, not so much in numbers, but land-wise, and 48,000 some odd people. And law enforcement, you probably, if you took into consideration all agencies, state, local, federal, I'd say maybe 150 officers in Jackson County, maybe give or take. It's impossible for that many officers to protect 48,000 people at once. Usually deputies they may be 15 or 20 minutes away response time. So by the time law enforcement gets there, if you needed a weapon to protect yourself, it's usually too late by the time law enforcement arrives. So I'm a huge, huge supporter of our Second Amendment right. I'm an NRA lifetime member. I'm an NRA firearms instructor and FDLE firearms instructor. I've conducted hundreds and hundreds of concealed carry safety classes over the years. Most of the money donated to different charities, worthwhiles. But as your sheriff of Jackson County, my goal is to help every law-abiding citizen who wants to arm themselves. I want to help them make it happen.
Okay. And I saw that program, and I also saw your teen driving program that you wanted to start.
I'm glad you mentioned that. Sadly, Jackson County has one of the leading teen traffic fatality rates in the U.S., my understanding, per capita now. And for instance, this summer we've lost 2 high school children in traffic fatalities. One young man, I'm close friends with his family, grew up with his dad. So it's not just a person. I know these people. And the statistics show that these fatalities, they're not happening because of drugs or alcohol. They generally happen because of maybe excessive speed, distracted driving, or failure to wear a safety harness or safety belt. And those are things that are corrected through education. And we know, every kid, back when I was in school, every kid got the opportunity to go to a driver's ed program. Nowadays, they don't have that opportunity. Some do, some don't. But there's a program out there called the Teen Drivers Challenge. And it's a program that's actually sponsored by the Florida Sheriff's Association. And it's a variation of the same driving courses that is taught to law enforcement officers, which I've taught for almost 20 years. But as Sheriff of Jackson County, I can assure every parent in Jackson County, if you have a teen driver, they will have the opportunity, the chance to participate in one of these classes. Can't make them go, but you can afford them the opportunity. And you do so, it's usually like a 2-day class put on, maybe during the summer. And of course, you can reach out to businesses and get sponsors to help give away t-shirts or whatever and get them there. But if I go and tell you as a parent, Mia, like, hey Mia, look, I've got this class I'm going to put on and it's free, it don't cost you anything. And I'm going to send your kid and I'm going to teach them how to drive, I'll teach them how to change tires, I'll teach them different things, how to check the oil and the air pressure in tires. And at the end of this, they may be or going to be a safer driver, and you may be able to go to your insurance provider and get a deal on your insurance or get it at a lesser price. Most parents, I think, will jump on that.
So the program is sponsored by the Sheriff's Association?
Currently, it's not taught in Jackson County. If Donnie Edenfield's your sheriff, it will be.
Okay, because that was my question. I guess because in your video you said it was going to be free. So my question was how is it going to be? Yeah.
Well, obviously the cost is bare minimum. You use cars either from your sheriff's agency or from the students themselves, and you go to a driving track. We have a local college that has a driving track. We have an airport in Marianna. We have places to do this, but really you have a classroom setting where you go over the safety tips and different things, and so the cost involved in putting this on is minimal. Traffic cones. Once you buy a set of traffic cones, then you have them. You use them every class. Probably your biggest expense of putting on this class would be providing the kids with a certificate and a t-shirt. And I promise you, if you reach out to our business owners in Jackson County, from side of the counties, from Sneads, Grand Ridge, Marianna, Cottondale, Graceville, Malone, and tell them what you're going to do, I promise you we can get sponsors for t-shirts to put their names on the back to give these kids, because we have to do something to help save the lives of our children, bottom line.
So would this come out of the budget of the sheriff's office?
No, ma'am.
So it would come out of sponsorships from local businesses?
Right, and actually the Florida Sheriff's Association will help sponsor you to get started with the program, because again, the cost of the material, the stuff that's needed is not that great. Traffic cones and some material. Mm-hmm. But it's sponsored by the Florida Sheriff's Association. You can look it up on, it's a good program. Mm-hmm. And as far as driver's ed goes, I mean, I'm a huge supporter of driver's ed in our education system. But when you take a driver's ed class for one semester and you're in class for 50 minutes a day, and if there's 20 students, how much drive time are you going to get in that semester? You put me out here, you give me that student for 2 days at the driving track, and this class is going to be taught by sheriff's deputies or police officers who have the certification, because there's a certification that you have to teach it. And I can assure you, we can make them a safer driver.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And I guess my last question is, how will you address drugs in Jackson County?
The drug problem in Jackson County. First and foremost, Mia, we have to work together. That means all law enforcement agencies have to work together to combat the war on drugs. That means every sheriff's department agency in the surrounding area, every police department within the area, they have to work together to make this thing successful. Unfortunately, that hasn't always happened. As sheriff, I will do everything within my power to have a good relationship with all agencies around us. Also, the Jackson County Sheriff's Department has a drug task force currently, but I would put supervision in place, which to hold those guys, checks and balances. What are you doing every day? Where you at? What case you're working on? Where we at with this? And there's nothing wrong with agencies helping other agencies, but there comes a point that we got to clean up around our front porch before the others. So and with the drugs, it's twofold. We have a user and we have a dealer. Okay, users are people who become addicted to the drug. We have to be there for those people. The fact of the matter is, Mia, you can't arrest someone enough times to fix their addiction. You have to help them. Are you going to be able to help every one of them? Probably not. But if we can help 1 out of 10, that's better than none. Be involved in their recovery. We have some programs already in place. Evangel Church in Marianna has Celebrate Recovery. They meet at this church on Friday night, pre-COVID, and they minister to these people and help them. They're a support group. And could you imagine what if a sheriff walked into these meetings on Friday, just periodically, just to let these people who are suffering from an addiction say, hey guys, I'm here for you. I'm not just here to put you in jail. I want to help you. I want to stop the cycle. Because the bottom line is drugs can be related or traced back to so much crime, property crimes, crimes of violence, sexual crimes. So if we attack the drug issue, and we can stop a lot of other crimes from ever occurring. But let these people know that you're there for them and you're going to help them. Also, you got to let them know, hey, I'm going to hold you accountable, you know? And I can assure you that you would gain so much respect from these people, because an addict is not the only person that's affected as it relates to drug abuse. You've got the spouse who has to go to work and their employer has to deal with the spouse missing work. Then you have the kids or the children of the addict, and that spills over into our schools, because you have a school teacher now that's dealing with a kid that probably didn't get all the sleep or the nutrition or whatever. I mean, it's just a snowball effect. So many people's lives are affected by drug addiction. And if you haven't realized by now that just locking them up is not going to fix it, then we never will. Now, as far as the dealers or those who illegally manufacture, sell and distribute narcotics in Jackson County, I promise you, if Donnie Edenfield is your sheriff, you're going to do one of three things. You're either going to stop what you're doing, you're either going to go to jail, or you're 24/7, you will be looking over your shoulder to wonder when the Jackson County Drug Task Force is going to come knocking on your door. That's one promise that I'll make to the citizens of Jackson County. We will aggressively attack those who illegally manufacture, sell, or distribute that poison to our citizens.
And will you be reallocating the budget in any way if you get elected?
The budget's set forth, the way the budget works, and it's around $6 million, give or take. But the sheriff puts together a budget proposal, and it goes to the Jackson County Commission, and they look at it and determine, you know, whether they want to approve it or they can actually take away from it, adjust it, if you will. And if they adjust it, the sheriff has the right, he has a channel that he can take to appeal that to Tallahassee. But as far as the allocation of the budget, it's sort of set in place by the commission decides whether they approve it or not. But once the sheriff gets the budget, it's up to the sheriff to spend that in the right manner. And as sheriff of Jackson County, I pledge to the citizens that I will go through the budget line by line by line and ensure that the taxpayers' dollars are being spent wisely and not wasted. And that being said, if we do that and we can go back and save dollars, I would like that money to be used to benefit the staff. You've got some hardworking people at the Jackson County Sheriff's Department, and of course everybody wants to pay their staff more, pay them more. Everybody wants to make more, but that would be my plan as far as the budget goes. I can promise you, the citizens of Jackson County, Donnie Edenfield will be a steward of your taxpayers' dollars.
Okay, so the top priority kind of for if you were to rearrange the budget would be to put more money into staff salaries?
Possibly.
Okay. Well, I think that's all I have. Is there anything you'd like to add?
That's pretty much it. You did a good job at pulling it out of me. To the citizens of Jackson County, I assure you, if elected sheriff, that I will serve all the citizens of Jackson County with the highest level of integrity and accountability and passion, and I will work hard to recruit and retain employees with good moral character and value, and you will see a sheriff's department that is involved in your community like you've never seen. I appreciate you guys. I thank you for having me. God bless. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your time today, Mr. Edenfield.
Thank you, Mia.
Thanks for watching, everyone. Hopefully you learned something new about Jackson County Sheriff candidate Donnie Edenfield. You can revisit this interview on mypanhandle.com's Meet the Candidate page under the Your Local Election Headquarters tab. But that's all for today. All this week we'll be talking with the other opposing candidates for the Jackson County Sheriff's race, so make sure to tune in for those. But that's it. Live in the studio for 13 Now, I'm Mia Salzano. See you tomorrow.